started suffering from understeer, so the car was struggling to turn the corners. Hence, the pace wasn't there and we couldn't compete at the front. How do you pick yourself up after such a difficult weekend? Well, I have to confess that waking up on Monday morning, the mood is a bit low after such a weekend, but you need to put that aside and trying to find the positive spin and the positive attitude, trying to come to work and bring the best out of yourself during the day. In this team, we have this mantra about the bad experiences are what is actually making us stronger. So we'll try to understand as much as possible out of this weekend. We already gathered together, trying to put together all the pieces of information. We'll work hard over the next 3 days to understand what went wrong in Interlagos. What were the reasons why our car didn't work this weekend, and if we had to do it again, what would we change? Well, the long run pace we showed in free practice was quite reassuring. We didn't think that we needed to change the car around, so we went into qualifying and the results were around the third row. In a way, we're not pleased with it. We thought the car deserved more. The alarm bells went out during the sprint race because after the encouraging first couple of laps, the degradation of our car was quite big, mainly coming from the rear axle. So at that stage, we worried about our performance on a Sunday and we organized for a simulator session back at the factory, looking at the parameters we could change between Saturday and Sunday. We are in part firmer because it's a sprint weekend. So we're not left with many tools to play, but we were hoping that addressing some of the issues we experienced on Saturday, like pushing very hard on the first couple of laps, doing a bit more management and trimming a bit the balance of the car with the flap would have been enough to put us in a more comfortable position for Sunday. What came out of Sunday was actually quite a bleak picture resembling of our Saturday. We improved a bit the degradation on the rear axle, but at the same time we started suffering from understeer, so the car was struggling to turn the corners. Hence, the pace wasn't there and we couldn't compete at the front. Did we consider changing the setup of the car? Well, we are in parfait throughout the weekend with the sprint regulations, so if we were changing the setup on Saturday night, we'd have to take a pit lane start on Sunday, which means that you are released after all the cars are passed by the pit exit. You need to catch up to the back of the pack and carve through it, which in itself is causing tire degradation. So for us, from a strategical point of view, it was off the table. Why did we fit a soft tyre for Lewis' last stint? Well, the soft tyre was simply the best tyre of the weekend. We knew it even before turning up in Interlagos from the data we gathered last year. So we made a clear choice of preserving the stash of soft tyres. We didn't even touch in free practice. In free practice, we evaluated the medium versus the hard. The medium turned out to be the best of the two. And then in the race, we went in with a soft, medium, soft strategy. And when it was time to make the call for the last stint, nobody touched the hard. Was clearly not a good tyre. And the medium proved to be offset compared to the soft. It didn't offer better degradation, it was just slower. So the choice was quite automatic going for the soft. We knew the soft had a 25 laps stint live, so 25 laps to the end. That's what we did with Lewis. Is George power unit okay for the next races? In a nutshell, yes. It will be on different power unit for the next 2 races. It was originally allocated. The power unit he used in Interlagos was meant to be his last race weekend. And why did we retire his car? Well, we started seeing some pressures and temperatures that were quite worrying, and it got to a point where we were quite convinced it was about to fail. So in order to avoid the fire and damage other parts of the car, the logical conclusion was to retire the car. But it will be on a different power unit for the next 2, so there's no issue from that point of view. What did we learn from the performance this weekend? Well, first of all, we were faced again with the enigma of tires. We can see them switching on and off within a few degrees, so it is very, very difficult to be on top of them. The second thing was the degradation. We were not at the best end of it, as we normally are, so that's a new thing for us to explore and understand. And third thing, were we too conservative with the ride heights after Austin? Possibly part of the answer will be there, but we don't think that it's explaining the full picture that as we saw it unfolding at the weekend. What do we expect from the next race in Vegas? Well, it's a complete new ball game. We try to gather as much information as I'm sure any other team tried to. We have models of the track in the simulator. We gather information under the shape of pictures of the tarmac and so on. The weather is going to play a big part in it. It's quite cold at this time of the year in Vegas, especially the sessions happening around midnight. And the tires, we have the softest selection of tires in Vegas. So that is adding an extra dimension to the problem. The truth is, every team to some degree will venture into the unknown because we don't have any previous data. So the preparation work we're conducting at the factory will have to cover different dimensions, different aspects of it, more than we usually do for other tracks.